Elise loved to fish. She even had her own fishing pole that was just the right size for a 10-year-old girl, and loved the weekends when her grandfather would take her down to the lake. But then one day, she didn't anymore. No one knew just why. They only knew that one day she brought her little girl fishing pole down to the pawn shop on the little town's main street and never went to the lake again. For years, she wouldn't say a word about it to anyone, not even her grandfather. Eventually, she grew up and decided to leave that little town in search of wider, wilder places. And as she was packing the boxes up, a neighbor asked her one last time, "Elise, why did you give up fishing?" This is her story. It started out like any other morning. Elise pulled back the curtains and looked out her bedroom window. Rain! She hurried to change out of her pajamas and into her raincoat, boots, and hat. She ran down the stairs, through the living room, into the kitchen, and whoo! She nearly crashed into her mother. "Where are you going?" "Outside!" "Well, what's the hurt?" "It's raining. I'm going to go jump in the puddles." "Okay, well, when?" "Thanks, Mom. When you're done, get the mail and bring it inside." Out the kitchen door, down the steps, and into the big front yard, all full of sloppy, squishy mud. She jumped and she slopped and she flopped and she slipped until her yellow rain boots were all brown. She was starting to get tired, and the inside of her raincoat was starting to get all hot and sticky sweaty. She figured the cookies Mom and her little brother David had been making were probably done by now. Most of the time, having a little brother was kind of a pain, but if David would give her a cookie, then maybe all the annoying things he did didn't matter as much. She started off toward the house. Oh, right, the mail! She ran to the mailbox and peered inside. She saw only one letter. Instead of being small and smooth and white like most letters, the envelope was larger and made of rough brown paper. The writing was the old-fashioned kind, where the end of each letter slanted and swirled into the beginning of the one next to it. She held onto it and ran back toward the house. Halfway there, her feet slid out from under her, and she landed face first in the mud. The envelope flew through her hand, landing a few feet away. She scrambled to pick it up before the mud and the rain smeared all the writing together, and was surprised to find when she picked it up that the letter was perfectly dry. "Mom, look!" She crashed through the kitchen door, holding up the letter. "Give me that." "Isn't it pretty the way the letter?" "Go and play." "Don't you want me to clean up my—" "Elise, I said go and play." Her father rushed into the kitchen and ushered Elise out into the living room where David was playing with his toy soldiers. "Do you want to play?" "Shh." She pressed her ear up to the kitchen door. "I'm listening." "Joanna, who is it from?" "It's from Loretta." "What does she want?" "She wants us to come and visit. Wants us to bring the children." "When do we leave?" "We are not going." "Joanna, don't you think it's time you set aside this feud with your sister?" "Michael, you were not there. You did not see what I saw." "Are you sure you know what you saw?" "It is not something a person forgets." "You were a child then. The memories of children are not the best, especially grief-stricken children." "What did the papers say happened to your brother Stephen?" "That he wandered away in the night, fell into the river, and drowned. But..." "Yes, Joanna, he fell into the river and drowned. It's time you put this fairy tale nonsense behind you. Heaven knows it would be better for the children if they could get to know your sister. She is family. But I'm sure we will all enjoy the visit." Elise had to scramble away from the door to keep from being knocked over as her father came barreling through it. Aunt Loretta's house was set deep in the woods and could not be seen from the street. Standing tall and imposing, yet somehow almost lopsided in the moonlight. There was something sort of lopsided about Aunt Loretta herself as well. Something in the way the heavy black fabric of her dress hung on her tall, slender frame. Something in the way she seemed to stare out of one eye particular that gave the impression something inside her was off balance. David looked up at her. "Why do you wear all black?" "Shh!" Elise glared at him. "That's impolite." "Nonsense." Aunt Loretta came close to look at him through one eye in particular. "He is only a young boy, wondering. He has a healthy curiosity." She reached up to ruffle David's hair, and Elise could hear her mother nervously shuffling her feet. "I am in mourning." "No, it's late at night." Mourning is a word for people who are sad. I have been in mourning for 40 years. Ever since my younger brother, Stephen, fell into the river and drowned. Or at least, that's how they say it went. That night, they all slept in Aunt Loretta's spare bedroom. Elise and David on the floor, their parents in the bed. Late in the night, Elise woke to David's hands shaking her. "Did you hear that?" "Go to bed." "I heard a noise." "You're dreaming." "I'm going to see what it is." "Okay." "Are you coming?" "No, I am sleeping." But as soon as he'd scrambled up and gone through the bedroom door, she couldn't seem to sleep anymore. Having to lie on the floor next to your little brother was annoying, but it was better than having to lie on the floor all alone. She followed the sound of David's soft footsteps. At the end of the hall, a doorway had been left open, leading to a tall, narrow set of stairs. Carefully, she ascended, looking into a dimly lit room where Aunt Loretta was seated on the floor, looking down into a small glass fishbowl. Inside, a goldfish swam in slow circles. As Elise watched, it almost looked as though the fishbowl was floating 6 inches above the worn wooden floor. Elise saw David step out of the shadows and walk toward Aunt Loretta. "How does it do that?" "Ah, I knew you would come. 6 is a curious age. Why don't you answer my question?" "Magic. It is held up by magic." "Are you a witch?" "Of a sort. I would have been long ago. I was 15 years old and just coming into my own. Well on my way to becoming a powerful sorceress." "Boy, do I scare you?" "Why should you? Witches are just pretend." "That is the same thing Stephen said." She gazed down into the fishbowl for a moment, before continuing. "Said it was all pretend when he came here and spilled all my potions bottles out on the floor. Said he wasn't afraid. Nothing inside, he claimed, but fish oil. Well, with all my vials broken, I'd never be able to finish learning the magic arts. My powers would have disappeared altogether, except that I missed one." She reached through the neck of her black gown to reveal a small vial of ice blue liquid suspended on a gold chain. "I had just enough magic left to show him how wrong he was." "You still don't scare me. I think he was right. It is nothing but fish oil. Be changed!" Suddenly, the room filled with blue smoke. When the smoke cleared and Elise looked again, David was gone. On the floor, in the place where he had been standing, flopped a small fish, exactly like the one in the bowl. Aunt Loretta picked it up and dropped it roughly into the water. "Now then, boys, that doesn't look pretend to me." Elise would never forget forget what she saw that day and never go fishing again.